This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for TAX Oceania Digimon Regionals that happened this past weekend. It was 74 players, and also this was BT13, which it was the first one for the English version of the card game. There are other tournaments happening this weekend as well, so if you guys check out my website, I did update it for the Play TCG event that happened at the same time. This was EX4, but I did get the entirety of the top 16, so I'm not going to go over these lists since we are now in BT13, but big shout outs to everyone who got into that top 16 there, and make sure to check out these deck lists. Everything's linked in the description on my website too, if you guys want to see those, as well as I did get reached out for this one that happened in France early in the month as well. So thank you to Pad Pit for sending me these infographics, the deck list, and everything else. So if you guys want to check out this regionals, it's a little bit interesting too with some of the ones like Imperialdramon and Massamon topping this one, which I thought was a little weird. So or at least just decks that we don't really see top anyways. So those are theirs, but we're going to talk mostly on this BT13 regionals that happened. So it happened again this past weekend. It was 74 players, webcam, and also Mario was doing the tournament coverage of that. So it's on their Twitch channel, which is linked in this page as well. So if you guys want to see some of the games, make sure to check those out. But into this top 16, we do have 5 ShineGreys, 2 GaoGamons, 2 Greymon Tribals, 2 Bloomlords, 2 Red Hybrids, an Alphamon, a Royal Knights, and a MachineDramon as well. So I think a lot of people think ShineGreymon was the best deck going into this format, and obviously showing for this first event too. It is, the first event though, and only 74 players, so nothing definitive yet, but just something, a trend. I do also like the GaoGamon. I thought this deck was pretty good. I had a lot of backlash with that, so we'll see if it continues to top, but I think it is pretty strong for where it's at. And then, Greymon Tribal, pretty much the same stuff. Red Hybrid, pretty much the same stuff. A little bit of new stuff for Bloomlord, and then some other support decks. So we're not going to go over every decks, and we're probably going to be skipping the Red Hybrid and the MachineDramon and the Greymon Tribal list, just because they're moderately the same as I've been covering for the last couple weeks. So make sure to check those out if you guys are wanting to see what they're built, but not a lot of BT13 cards, if any, in those ones. So we're going to start off with our first place list. It's Aidan Redpath, ShineGreymon. And again, this is definitely a deck that I think a lot of people are really on right now. I also think it's a deck that isn't as, there's not a lot of choices for deck building as much. I think it's pretty understood. They just got so much support, right? There's so much ShineGreymon support that got released in the last 3 sets that you pretty much just put them all together and go from there. Decision point is a little bit on the yellow eggs versus red eggs. So choosing the yellow eggs for this one just can be a little bit clunky if you run the Agumon X antibody right, but you kind of go from there. And then you just have your top end. So 4 of the ShineGreymon from BT12, 2 of the new ones from BT13, as well as the burst mode and the ruin mode as well. And I like the burst mode a lot. I think this one's very strong. It's definitely the new one that you use for this one, but compared to a lot of the other burst modes, the fact that you get your tamer back with it, and then you get to do another this does 2 damage for it, you go into it for free. There's a lot of advantage that this card gets for the entire deck, that it's just a really good finisher for it. So sometimes I see people play 3 copies of burst and no copies of ruin, but it's a very strong card and a very good finisher for this, and just getting your tamers and stuff. And man, this Marcus tamer is fantastic for what it is too. It is a 5 cost, so you can't play it for free off a lot of the 4 cost or less, but man, this gets it all. The fact that you get memory back, and specifically in this deck, it gets a memory back. If it hit insecurity, gives something minus 3k, which can pop like a rookie. There's a lot of stuff you can go for it too. So 1 copy of the Rise Gray X, and also the Sunrise Buster, which I think some people run, some people don't. It is just a one of, right? So it's not something you can really consistently be. Sometimes you hit insecurity, but I think in general this deck is very strong. It can go up your chain very easily, get a lot of early advantage, a lot of tamers out on the board very quickly, and start kind of punching away with it. So anyways, this is Aidan's list. Congratulations to their first place finish there. Next up, we have Jarrett with the GaoGamon, and GaoGamon kind of is in a very similar spot in the fact that it did just get a bunch of support over the last couple sets, that you just put in a lot of the new pieces, but you do have some decisions on some of the option cards you run and tamer ratios as well. So, but just the fact that we do have the new burst mode, the new Mirage GaoGamon is okay, has evade, and also can return tamer, so the tamer destruction, or at least tamer disruption, is fine for it. And you also get to play your own tamer for free. It's only the Thomas one, because this deck's kind of weird, and this archetype is because it's split between 2 tamers, the Thomas as well as the Nikolai, so there is some some issues where it's only Thomas, which kind of is tricky for running the Eagle Eye. But we do have the burst mode for this deck as well, so you get to return one of your opponent's Digimon to their owner's hand to gain 1 memory for every 4, and then when attacking, if your opponent has 9 or more in hand, they return random cards to the bottom of their deck, and then until they have 8 left, and you get to unsuspend, which means you can attack with it again. So very good. I do like the BT11 Mirage GaoGamon as well. Sometimes this is kind of like a soft lock in the fact that it makes it hard for your opponent to do anything because you get the memory back on their turn too, which is nice if they add any cards to their hand with effects, so that's cool. And then Landamon, just being able to get a good hybrid, hybrid, but that you're also able to put underneath your good sources, which is good. Sorai, which is great. The Full Moon Meteor Impact and Blue Mem Boost because we don't have the training options yet. So there it is. Congratulations to Jarrett for their finish there. Next up, we have Sai with their 5th place Bloomlord, and I also want to talk about Max's one just because both of these are somewhat similar. These are mostly BT12 decks. There is like the whole new line that we have with Rosemon, so we do have a bunch of new plants for it. So we do have Lalamon, which lets you look top 3 for Vegetation, Plant, Fairy, and also Yoshino, which we're not seeing in Sai's version of the deck, but we do see in Max version, which is a pretty good tamer for it. Start your turn, it's a memory setter, but also your turn when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with Vegetation, Plant, Fairy in one of its traits, you can suspend this tamer to gain a memory. And so even though it's a tamer that it does stack its effect, which is really nice, even though it's a memory setter. So being able to find it off this is good. Being able to additionally, I believe you get to play it for free off Lilamon. So in Max's version, it makes a little bit more sense to play this because you get to play Yoshino for free, and also inherited when your opponent has suspended Digimon to play. This gains security attack +1, which is pretty easy to get to as well. So all these are really strong effects. I think this is really cool. And so the only other new card is the Sunflowermon, which is also being run in Sai's version. So you may suspend the Digimon to digivolve one of your Digimon into a Digimon card with the Fairy trait in their hand and reduce it by 2. So it essentially gives Digisorption 2 to everything, which is cool. And then your turn was returned when this Digimon would digivolve. If you have a green tamer in play, you get to reduce the devolution cost by 1. So you really get to go up your chain a lot easier and like even faster, and green's really known for doing that. So I think this is a good add for the deck too. Also, we see one Izzy that you just get to, when one of your opponent's Digimon suspended during your turn, you get to suspend this to gain a memory. So it could just be to get like another tamer out for cheap when to help you with your Sunflowers and just everything else. So these are the list, and then top end I think is understood. Quartzmon, Bloom, and Hydra are very good cards, and I don't think they're going to be any less good anytime soon. So there we go. Congrats to Sai and Max there. Next up, we have Tristan with their 7th place Alphamon, and I'm really happy to see Alphamon come back because even though like this time last year, or just about this time last year, it was just about to get its big release, get a lot of strength and be a very tough deck to play around. I do think that the nerfing for this to 1 just kind of broke the deck, which is kind of just indicative of how good this card was, but just the fact that we didn't have another Durogreymon just for the name, so we could do like the Dex Durogrey, and it just means like the Cool Boy didn't even really work with the deck because the only way you could really use this effect was off the Dex Durugramon, which is rare. So being able to have like the additional Durogrey to go up your line, I think is very strong for the deck. And really all it really missed. So I think that's strong. But we do have new pieces in the form of, at least in this build, a new Durugamon, just gives an inherent +1k to essentially everything. We also have the new Alphamon, which is also kind of the Royal Knight version of it. But on play, when digivolving by placing one Digimon card with X antibody as traits or Royal Knight's as trait, all of your opponent's Digimon with play cost of 10 or higher can attack players until the end of your opponent's turn. And all turns once per turn when this Digimon would leave the battle area by effect, you can return one Digimon with X antibody or Royal Knights from this to the bottom of your deck to prevent it from leaving play. So being able to use this to kind of stall, but also being able to put stuff underneath it is very good for obvious reasons for this deck. And for example, getting a Ryumon from your trash underneath it so you can go into a Yukon for free, or cheaper rather, is good. And then you just have a bunch of tamers. You have the Kodas and Yuyas, Black Membus, Kongus, as well as a single copy of Final Zubagon Punch if you want to go that more OTK variant. So, anyways, here's the list. Oh, also running a Sunrisemon, which means that this is kind of more going for like more punches and more damage, since you can either get a security attack +1 with this very easily, or get piercing if you have it on board. So mostly I think it's the security attack +1, but very strong nonetheless. So this is Tristan's build. Congratulations there. And to wrap it up, we have Emily Wu with their 12th place Royal Knight build. And we didn't. I really like this deck, and I'm thinking a little bit that this is also just an expensive deck since we are running a lot of secret rares, 3 Gallantmons and 4 of the Omnimons. So my think is that I think we'll see this probably a little bit more as time goes on, as well as when people get more used to playing as it. But I do think it's maybe underperformed for this event, but we'll see if it continues to go from there. But there's not a lot of deck building choices for a lot of this. You do play obviously a bunch of your level 6s and kind of go from there. So I think the good ones, Dynasmon is fantastic. It's only costs 10 on a play cost, which is great, and is able to look at 2 cards from your deck for cycling purposes, which is really good. Or adds 2 cards to your hand essentially. We also have like the Leopardmon, which you can also use to like reduce the play cost of something. So being able to play this and then play something like a All Force to get like the removal of something is really good, or just kind of the combo from there. Lord Nightmon to get back pieces if you need to. Gankumon is one of my favorites as well, so 3 copies makes sense. Just being able to play something from underneath your your King Drizil is very good in that way too. And then running a couple of the Sistermon Seals, and then you have to kind of run some Marcuses and some of the Porcumons just to make sure that if they are playing any cards that like prevent you from reducing play costs, which do exist like from Psychomon and Solarmon, you can get rid of them pretty easily since the Marcus is able to do that and everything else. But and then this Omnimon, I think this is such a good card. Sometimes you just play this you just hard play it just to get the deletion effect, which is really great. But otherwise, being able to just say, oh, I play 7 level 6s, and I hope you have like an Ice Wall or something in your security, because otherwise I can just swing out and just win with it. So really interesting deck style, and just kind of works. But I do think it's really cool just the fact that it's a deck that incorporates all the Royal Knights, and it does so very well. So that is the list. Congratulations to Emily for their finish there. And that's going to be it for my breakdown. So again, thank you so much to TAC for running this event, as well as for providing the deck list for this one. Make sure to check out my website for this event and the other 2 that we're mentioning here. So shout outs to, again, Pad Pit for giving me the France ones, as well as PlayCCG for their event that happened this weekend too. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.